Hey, hi everybody. I sure hope you've been enjoying our Freedom series so far. We've got a couple down and a whole lot to go. Today's episode is on the right to own guns. A pretty simple comparison, but I still think it's worth talking about. So here are the basic differences in gun ownership in Vietnam and in the United States. In the USA, we have a constitutional amendment in the Bill of Rights, the Second Amendment, and it guarantees citizens the right to bear arms. Vietnam, on the other hand, does not allow private ownership of guns at all. So I think I'm going to head out and find a place to have a cup of coffee and talk about this topic a little more. Through many court cases through the years, the rights for citizens in the U.S. to own arms and keep weapons and guns at their houses has been upheld by the courts. It's part of a history ever since the beginning of the country. People argue over it a lot. The Second Amendment's always debated. The Democrats seem to be against it and the Republicans seem to be for it. But it's still the law of the land. Vietnam, on the other hand, no guns. There are some exceptions here in Vietnam. If a person has the need for hunting or something, a shotgun can be purchased here in Vietnam, even though the administrative process is pretty difficult to get through. But all in all, there's about 70,000 shotguns here in Vietnam that are legally registered. Statistics from the 2018 Small Arms Survey says that in the United States, we have 393 million guns. That's about a gun apiece. That's a lot of guns for every man, woman, and child of the United States to have one. The U.S. is definitely number one in gun ownership in the world. Even though there's only 70,000 or so legal guns in Vietnam, that's estimated to have about 1.1 million guns in circulation. Most of these guns are air guns. They cost anywhere from $15 to even up as high as $1,000, depending on their power and their quality and things like that. They usually shoot steel balls or glass balls, pellets, things like that. But they're still illegal. So if you've got one, you could get in trouble for owning it. So what's the end result of these rights being so different? On the economic side, in the U.S., shooting sports are a really big business. If we eliminated gun ownership, there'd be a lot of places like Bass Pro Shop that would really be hurt. It's estimated that about $60 billion is generated in the economy because of shooting sports. That's a lot of money. If you look at stores like Dick's Sporting Goods, Bass Pro Shop, places that sell all kinds of camping equipment, gear, clothing, all of this stuff's related to shooting sports or fishing. It's really hard to imagine that $60 billion number, but if you go in a Bass Pro Shop, it starts to become pretty clear. I looked for the numbers in Vietnam, but honestly, I couldn't find anything on the economic impact of firearms or not owning firearms in Vietnam. The shotguns are such a small part of the picture that it really doesn't have a significant impact. The big issue with gun ownership by private citizens is the contribution to crime. There's very little gun crime in Vietnam. While the U.S., gun crime is a constant thing in the news. They give a lot of attention to places like Chicago, where there's 20, 30, 40 shootings in a weekend, and a lot of people die. NPR published a survey on gun deaths in the United States, and you would think it'd be the highest, but it's not. It's only number 11. The dubious distinction of being number one is El Salvador with 43 deaths per 1,000 gun violence. The Caribbean area in South America is number one in the world. Vietnam doesn't even make the chart. While there is crime involving guns in Vietnam, the numbers are so small that it didn't even make the NPR survey. You very seldom see it in the news. Occasionally you'll see something maybe with drug dealers or something like that, but gun violence is pretty rare. In the US or Vietnam, using a gun while you're committing a crime is a really serious offense. In the US, it can get you jail time real quick. And in Vietnam, I'm sure that that's the same thing. It's really smart to follow the laws wherever you live. And especially in countries that are strict on guns like Vietnam, you certainly don't want to get caught with one. You could be deported, blacklisted from ever entering the country, and basically lose everything you have here. Well, that's it for the comparison. If you're into shooting sports and hunting, well, Vietnam's not the country for you. You'd be better off to stay in the US or Canada or somewhere like that. There's many countries that allow gun use. If you're planning on moving or retiring to another country, you need to find out how the laws on shooting sports would affect you. If it's really a big part of your life, you need to know those laws. If you got any info from this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. Watch for more in the Freedom series by hitting the notification bell. Remind you of when the next one's coming up. This is JR, the expat in Saigon, saying thank you all for watching.